Hi.
Hey, how are you? I'm so excited about this.
Oh, me too. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you in person and not on stage. The last time I saw you, you were on stage in the prom, which
Yay.
I love that show so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you got to see it.
It was I didn't know what to expect going in. I knew nothing about the show at that time, and I left smiling ear to ear. I mean, it was such a feel-good show, such a beautiful show. I loved it.
I'm so glad.
Truly, every time I'm kind of in a bad mood or down, it's kind of a gloomy day outside, I listen to the soundtrack and it just picks me up.
That makes me so happy. I love that.
So was this, I'm going to jump in. People are kind of joining us as we go here, but I'll just start.
Yeah,
Was it your first Broadway show? Was the prom your first Broadway show?
it was. Yes.
Oh, what a show to make a debut in.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't have asked for a better show. It was just really a dream in so many ways.
Were you in it from the beginning? Because I think I saw somewhere on your social media profile that you did it in Atlanta.
Yeah, so I was in it from pretty much the very beginning, luckily, and it was so cool to be a part of that whole process. So I did it in Atlanta, but we actually did it before that, a year before, just in New York City as a lab. So just a 4-week, kind of the first time they put the show up on its feet with dancing and everything. So yeah, it was a long journey.
Yeah, and so I saw somewhere that you said your character evolved, at least in the costumes, from Atlanta to New York. So how did the show change? How did your character change during that transition?
The main plot and storyline of the show kind of remained the same, but there were certainly changes as well. Let's see, a couple songs changed along the way. The opening number changed probably like 45 times. I'm not even kidding. That was like the one thing we changed so much. Costumes definitely changed. My character pretty much stayed the same throughout, which was kind of nice. So I got to hang out with her for like 4 years. But yeah, I mean, cast members change too, just because that's what happens when you're going along over a year's time and people book other jobs and things like that. So that was part of the changes as well.
I feel like this is one of those shows that really shouldn't have worked because it's really a hybrid of music. You've got the big Broadway stars and they have kind of their musical sound. And then you have the young people in the show that have kind of a different, more contemporary sound.
Totally.
So talk to me about the musicality and why the show worked even with these different musical tones, musical undertones.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up because it's something that our music writers talked about a lot. And they were very aware that there are two very different genres of music kind of going on, which I love because you have the characters that are in New York City, the Broadway stars, that come to Indiana. So obviously it's going to be like a culture shock. It's very different. I'm actually from Indiana, so I can speak to that from personal experience.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and I personally just really love the more contemporary sound, like pop rock kind of. This wasn't like rock, but you know, I love contemporary musical theater as well as traditional too. But I just think the book writing and the storyline, that's why it worked, because they were so genius in how they put it together that it still meshed and it still made sense. It's just, I mean, I can go on about the great things about this show. It still makes me sad that we closed, but yeah, it's cool to have the two different sounds on one.
It makes me sad that you guys closed too, because, and I guess on the one hand is the whole country is going to discover this show. Those people who did not go to Broadway, they're going to see it in a movie form. They're going to see it on tour. There's going to be a young adult novel coming out. So but how does it feel being part of that legacy starting? Somebody said every aspect of the show is genius. I agree, Angie. So how does it feel being part of that legacy of something that you kind of gave birth to this thing that's now going out into the world?
It's such a special experience. And it's one of those things too, when I was in it, like while we were doing it, I was like, I need to remember these moments because I know how special it is, because not every show has a message that touches so many people, and not every show has a situation where you walk out of the stage door and get to connect with so many people that were really moved and changed by it too. And then when it comes to the movie or the Netflix movie and the tour and all that kind of stuff, I think it'll just make me look back and be even more proud of what we did, because the more people see it and understand what it was, I'm just glad it's going to continue in some way, and I'll always be so proud to be a part of, the first thing. So, yeah.
Now, were you a kid that listened? I grew up on original Broadway cast recordings. Were you a kid that listened to Broadway cast recordings?
Of course, 100%. Yeah.
So how is it to be on one? You made a Broadway cast recording.
Yeah, it's still surreal. I mean, that's another moment when you're in there recording the cast album and you're thinking exactly what you just said. Like, I grew up listening to cast recordings my whole life. I can't believe I'm doing this. And then we had a listening party where we got to hear it for the first time, and I mean, everyone was crying. There were so many Broadway debuts in that show, and it's so amazing and special. And we were so lucky to get to do that, because not every show gets to make an album. So, yeah, just amazing.
So exciting. And you worked with some fantastic Broadway veterans. I saw Josh, I saw it was scrolling. Josh Lemon is on here. Josh Swallow's Broadway is on here.
Josh Lemon, yeah.
But you worked with so many great people. So how was it working with people like Tony Award winner Beth Level, who's also from Raleigh? How is it working with them, and what did you learn from them?
Oh my gosh, the things I learned from them are endless. I mean, when we did the first lab in 2015, it was like, so we were the kids of the show. I'm obviously not a kid, but I played a kid. So our director, Casey Nicola, always referred to us as the kids. And in that first lab, when we weren't rehearsing for a moment and it was just like Beth and Brooks and Christopher and Angie, we would all be sitting in the front of the rehearsal studio just like this, watching them and taking everything in, because it's like you have something to learn every time you watch them. I mean, they are complete geniuses. They change their performance every night in a good way. And I watched Beth Level do her big number every night in the wings, and Brooks as well. So I tried to soak in all their talent and amazingness like every single night. And they're just such generous, kind people. So I think that's the most important thing to see, is that not only is it wonderful to be so talented, but to lead a company with kindness and openness and compassion is just a wonderful thing to take with you moving forward, because it's important too.
If anyone ever has a moment of sadness in this whole pandemic, they should watch a video of Brooks doing Barry going to prom, and they will not be sad anymore.
I totally agree. Oh my gosh. And he's just hilarious on stage and off. Just complete entertainment when you're around him. He's just so funny.
So fun. And then the dancing in this show, when I interviewed Beth Level, we talked about the dancing. So as much as you guys gleaned from them, they really looked to you for dance inspiration. That's what she told me. So talk to me about the physicality of the show and truly what it is. There are probably a lot of my followers are young, aspiring performers. So how do you maintain that physical stamina doing a show 8 or 9 times a week?
Yeah, that was definitely a learning curve, because the choreography is very intense, very athletic. It's kind of like a HIIT workout. And then also we had all these stairs backstage too. So it was like crazy nonstop. And basically doing that show, to get through it, you have to treat yourself like you're an Olympic athlete almost. It's like hydrating, eating super healthy, getting sleep. Everything is dedicated to making sure you have enough energy to get through the show at night. And I used to teach dance cardio before I was doing the show, and that was kind of the perfect training. So it's just like, running on a treadmill, singing along to a song, things like that are helpful for Broadway, let me tell you.
Total breath control, because dancing and singing, that's a whole other.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite moment? You said watching Beth Level perform that big, the ladies improving number, so that, that's kind of in the wings. Did you have a favorite moment to perform?
So it's funny because I'll tell people that that would change throughout the week depending on how tired I was because the show's exhausting. I loved performing it, but I loved performing Tonight Belongs to You, our big number before intermission. But if I was especially tired that day, I would be like, how am I going to do this? Because it's just nonstop energy. It was so enjoyable, but I mean, I kind of loved all of our dance numbers. And Love Thy Neighbor was always really fun, and it's one that people forget about, and I love that one too.
And the lyrics of that song,
Yeah.
if you listen to the lyrics, are amazing. It's it's such a well-written song.
Totally. But that was a change actually from Atlanta because it used to be like almost 2 minutes longer, and the dance was very, very, very long. So we cut it down for Broadway, and my body was thankful for that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And the Tonight Belongs to You number, for me, I was literally sitting, that number made me so anxious because I knew it was coming up before intermission. And I thought, this is like a big finale number, which means something terrible is about to happen.
You're going to know that. Yeah.
What's going to happen now? It
So
really,
sad.
yeah, it's a big setup number before the big disappointment.
Totally.
In addition, you guys got to perform on so many TV shows. You got to do so many late night shows. You got to do the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Good Morning America. So what were those TV experiences like?
They were awesome. And I'm so thankful we had all those opportunities too, because it's all these bucket list moments, the parade, Good Morning America, like all these things I wanted to do forever. And we got to do them all with one show. So that was fantastic. It's so fun to do those shows, but I have a whole new appreciation for when I see Broadway shows on these morning shows, because you don't think about the fact that they performed the night before and then they had to wake up at 4 a.m. and go to rehearsal and get hair and makeup. And you're like, oh, wow, those people are exhausted. So it's so fun, so exhausting, all in one. Great experiences. And it's fun that it's captured, so you can just go back and watch it whenever, be like, oh, we did that.
And there's so much positivity around the show, and it's such a positive message. I love the messaging of the show. But when you guys did Macy's, there was a little bit of weird backlash, which actually surprised me. I mean, I live for the Macy's Broadway performances and truly could care less about the rest of the parade.
Me too, of course.
But I loved that performance so much, other than thinking you guys had to have been a little cold. I was worried.
A little bit.
Were you guys surprised by some of the backlash?
Yeah, before going into it, I don't think I anticipated that at all. I mean, obviously too, I guess we're in the show and like we see it all the time. We're like, this isn't a big deal. And I don't know. It was definitely unfortunate. In one way, it was wonderful because people got to see themselves in a way they've never seen themselves in the parade. So yeah, and that made it 100% worth it. The backlash was just kind of disappointing. And it's like, well, if you want to put your negative energy toward this performance, like, isn't there something better you can be doing than, talking bad about our happy show? It's just kind of silly to me, but.
And had you guys been kind of living in a bubble with the show? I mean, had you received any backlash while you were doing the show before those TV performances, or were you just kind of living in a bubble?
Yeah, not that I can remember. I don't really think so. I mean, we got everything we heard, I think for the most part was overall positive. And we were walking away feeling great about what we were doing. So
I loved, like I said, I loved it. My only regret is I had wished I had taken my daughter to New York so she could have seen it, because she was on the prom committee at the time. And I bought her a prom shirt that said "Build a Prom for Everyone," and I was like, you gotta do this.
Yeah.
Now you have 2 big projects you're working on. Somebody commented online earlier, you are pregnant, and you did your gender reveal yesterday.
Yeah, totally.
Is your husband okay? Because I feel like he may have really wanted a boy.
Oh my gosh, I know. I was like so excited, and also was like, are you okay? For a moment. He's totally fine. It's just funny because I think a lot of guys might have that reaction at first, but it's not necessarily documented for everyone to see. But no, he's totally fine. He's gonna be great with it.
You know what's funny? I have a girl and a boy, and they're older now. But when I first told my husband, it's a girl, we're gonna have a girl, he was like, "What am I gonna do with a little girl?" And
Yeah.
now he's realized he has more fun with her. So your
I
husband's
love that.
great.
Okay, see, it's funny because I was always telling people, I don't know what I do with a boy. Like, what am I gonna do with a boy? So I totally understand. I mean, it goes both ways, but I'd be happy either way.
Our friend Mike McGee is saying girl power. So
Yeah, Mike.
The other project you're working on is the audition mindset program. And I love this idea of the mindset because at least on social media, one of the reasons I love to follow you, and I've continued to follow you for, I don't know, 2 years since I saw the prom, is because you're so positive. And I know you're like everybody, you have bad days and good days, but
Yeah.
On social media, you're just a ray of positivity, and I love that. So how do you maintain that positive attitude in an industry that's just kind of full of rejection and full of kind of hard times for so many people? So where does that come from?
So I didn't always used to be that way because exactly like you said, this industry makes it a little more difficult to be positive all the time. And over the years, I just realized that if I'm feeling miserable about a callback I didn't get or a show I didn't book, it's just making me unhappy for a longer time if I'm holding on to it, So, I don't know. I did a lot of research into it, read a lot of books. I love self-help books and things like that. And just, for me, it's almost like you have to have like a spiritual outlook or something else, something bigger than just your career to focus on. And when you can let things go and realize that you're going to get what you're meant to get and you can move on and enjoy life along the journey, because if not, what's the point? It's so much easier. So the audition mindset program kind of just incorporates that idea of not letting auditioning and rejection take over your life and your mindset and your mood. You can overcome that and have fun along the way, and then enjoy your successes even more when they come.
Now, you've been doing this a while. This is not a new thing, just with this new virus that we have.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it must be virtually done because you've got people from all over the place. So any advice for all of these people now transitioning to virtual coaching and virtual learning, virtual teaching?
That's a good question. I have found using Zoom, which everyone's using Zoom now, but especially if you're working one-on-one with someone, it's actually pretty great. Like right now, I love that I can look at your face and we can see each other, and it makes a difference rather than just an email or text or something. And then just I do keep in touch through email a lot with my clients too, and just tell them they can reach out whenever that way. But we schedule one meeting a week and just kind of keeping tabs on them throughout the week. I'm like, if you need something, let me know. I've only worked online, so I don't know any different. I mean, it is fabulous as well, but it's just nice to know that virtually works well too.
Well, and that's a good thing. So what are the biggest mistakes that people make in the auditioning process?
Taking things personally, trying to grab and pull and force an outcome at an audition that you don't have that control. You can only control a few things: preparation for the audition, doing your absolute best when you're there, being a nice and kind person to the people around you when you're there, and that's basically it. And of course, your training leading up to that point, right? And it's just in the New York audition space, people are normally pretty supportive of one another, so that's really nice. But yeah, it's just, you gotta let go of what you don't get, because you can't there's no logical reason to why you got something or why you didn't. It's just like, this career is not a straight line up. It's all over the place. So you kind of just gotta go with the flow.
Go with it. Yeah. I'm going to open it up to questions.
Sure.
And ask you my next question. Well, so if you have a question, type it in the comments, and Becca can read them or I'll read them. But do you have a dream role?
So I loved originating a role in the prom, and I think that is just another dream. Or I always say a Disney princess of any sort I would be very happy with. But originating a role is the coolest thing ever. So if I got to do that again, that would be a dream for sure.
And do you keep in touch with your prom castmates?
I do, especially because it was such a long journey. We were together for so long. Most of them are going to be friends for life, you know, which is, I mean, we are like a family. If we all got back together, it'd be the best time ever. So, yeah.
And I do have a lot of young followers, again, aspiring performers. So what advice do you have for those young people wanting to go into this business, who want a career like yours, who want to go to Broadway, who want to make it?
Yeah, I would just say, make sure that I mean, I don't think you have to go to college for musical theater. I didn't go to college for musical theater, and that's why I say that. But if you come to New York, there are a wonderful amount of classes here that you can kind of cultivate for yourself. You don't go to school for it necessarily. You got to keep training no matter what. So a vocal coach is really important. Acting classes, dancing classes, staying on top of everything, especially now, because now more than ever, you kind of have to do everything, not just dance. I mean, now they want special skills like, you know, skateboarding, point, like roller. I mean, literally everything. So being well-rounded is wonderful.
Uh-oh. Okay, guys, we lost Becca, and the problem with losing Becca is I don't think she can follow us again. Maybe she can. Let's try it. Oh, yes, she can. Okay, good. Good, I think. Let's see if we get her back.
Oh, there she is. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I was afraid. I was like, oh no, we have so many people on here. So, okay, good.
No, that's okay. I was going to say persistence is so important. Just don't give up, because I thought that I would book a Broadway show much sooner than I did. And there were many times where I was like, well, I guess it's not going to happen, so I'm going to give up. And it's really nice to have one cheerleader on your side. My mom was like, no, you're not giving up. So thankfully I didn't. But yeah, and enjoy yourself along the way too. It's really important, because like I said, there were a couple years in there where I was just working myself into the ground and not necessarily enjoying it, and like constantly pushing is not necessarily the best thing. So you can take time to relax as well. It's not a constant hustle.
And really what happened with you with the prom is kind of unusual, because Lauren Kennedy and we did an interview not that long ago, and she was saying just because you're in a workshop production, or just because you're in a production like you guys were in, a preview production in Atlanta, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get cast in the Broadway production.
Right.
So that's kind of a gift right there.
Oh yeah.
Were there a lot of, were most of you cast in the Broadway production from the Atlanta show?
Yeah, so thankfully, again, our director choreographer, Casey Nicola, is known for being really loyal to people that work hard and that he works well with. So, yeah, he's really good with that. So a lot of us did move on to the Broadway production, and then it's kind of like the other half went into his other show, Mean Girls. So he's really nice with that. But also, he's really big on hiring nice, good people and really hard workers. So if you do the work for him, it's kind of like a great relationship to have. So we were all lucky with that.
And I think you bring up another point. It's funny, I've done a few of these interviews now.
Yeah.
Antoine L. Smith and Robert Hartwell, we just did an interview a few days ago about, they were both in the North Carolina theater production in Memphis that was supposed to happen. And both of them said, be nice people, be the person you want to work with. So I thought that was amazing advice.
Yeah, 100%. And I, by the way, did Hello Dolly at North Carolina Theater back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
that's very exciting.
Yeah, I love that place.
So somebody asked, do you have any college audition tips, especially now because so many of our seniors in high school are in this weird place right now because we're all self-quarantine. So do you have college audition advice?
I'm not the best with college audition advice because I didn't go through that whole craziness to go to school for musical theater. But I will give you a tip that there is a girl who I love on Instagram, and her handle is Actor Aesthetic, and she has all the tips on college auditions. So definitely check her out. She will help you way more than me in this area.
She's amazing. And somebody else asked, why did you choose not to go to college for musical theater?
Well, I would have loved to, and my parents were like, no. And I was lucky enough to have them support me through school. So because of that, they're like, you're going to choose something else. Of course, you can pursue it after you graduate, but I ended up choosing to major in psychology because I thought that actually did help with acting, and did the dance team, took voice lessons, and took acting classes on the side. And that's basically why.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody's asking, how do you deal sometimes with the constant rejection? You didn't just audition for it's not like you graduated from school, you moved to New York, you auditioned for the prom and you're in. This was a long journey for you.
Oh my gosh, such a long journey. I mean, I was just telling someone, I think I was in final callbacks for like 16 things and I didn't get any of them. Yeah, the rejection is just kind of one of those things where you have to adopt the mindset that what's meant for you will not pass you by, or whatever feels right to you, because that's 100% the truth. And it's tough, but I think the more that you put yourself out there, it gets a little bit easier. Everyone's in the same boat that are at these auditions. And if it's something you're truly passionate about, then you will find the will to push through and go towards your dreams. You know, you can't let that stop you. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
Somebody asked, did you enjoy interacting with the fans? You were talking about the stage door moment, when you came out of the stage door.
Yeah.
So talk about that. How was those, walking out the stage door and having all those kids and young people there to see you guys?
That was the best. One of my favorite parts about the experience on Broadway was interacting with our fans because they were all so great. And just having the privilege of hearing personal stories and how the show touched them individually and all things, it just made our show so much more special. It made me so much more excited to perform it every night. And yeah, it's really cool because I wouldn't have been able to make those connections otherwise. You know, it's like that show brought our cast together and also this huge community of fans that all relate to the show as well. So it was like a big bubble of love, which I love.
Well, and in addition to all the positive stage door stories, and I have 2 stage door kids, any show we see, they want to stand by the stage door and get their program signed. And I've never really seen anything negative happen, but I know there are some scary moments, and I know there's some negative stuff that does happen. I know Beetlejuice had some incidents. So do you have any advice for, I want to say, fan etiquette, stage door etiquette, if you're standing there waiting to get your program signed or interact with your favorite onstage performer? Because we probably have a lot of fans on here who will be standing by stage doors. So
yeah, that's a good question. I think it's pretty basic. And I think if you're respectful and just a nice, generous person standing there, then it's fine. I definitely had a couple moments where people would have their playbills and we're all going down the line, you know? And some people are like, oh, I only want the leads to sign. And that feels horrible coming from an ensemble member. And, you know, I'm just like, maybe don't do that if you're standing at the stage door. You know, it's just not the nicest and makes us feel like not great. But I can't think of another negative experience I had. So I don't know, just be nice and respectful, and that's all. And don't go in for a hug if you didn't ask first or things like that, you know?
Just respect people's personal space.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike asked, what was it like playing a mean girl every night when you're so nice?
So much fun. It was so fun. Especially because I love Caitlin, who played Emma in the show, and it's more fun to kind of play opposite of what you are in everyday life. So, you know, it was good. And I got to redeem myself at the end, so that made it better too.
Yes. What would be your ideal first show you'll bring your sweet little one to when she's old enough?
Oh, definitely something Disney for sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hi,
And
Angie.
I'll take one, I guess one or two last questions, and then I'm going to let you go. But
Okay.
um, what I guess what is the mood? Are you in New York? I mean, I'm guessing you're still in New York.
I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey. So what is the mood there right now? I feel like that area is just the epicenter for this crazy thing we're all facing. What is the mood of the theater community? Because it just seems like there's such a rallying around of the theater community right now, which is so beautiful, and people are doing virtual concerts. So what's the mood that you're kind of hearing and seeing?
Well, I think that it's a good question right now, and it's a great reminder of how theater people kind of always come together in times like this, and artists, and they take times like these to create beautiful things or put out wonderful things for people to be entertained by. I don't know if you watched the Rosie O'Donnell show she did one night, which was awesome. I mean, that was so cool. So I think it's like, everyone's a little on edge, not knowing what's going to happen, but also trying to put out as much goodness as they can for themselves and for fans, because so many people had tickets to shows that they aren't able to see now, and all that kind of stuff. And also, when performers aren't able to perform, I think like we don't know what else to do. So we're gonna sing a song for you now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Somebody asked, do you have a favorite current Broadway show?
Oh, I mean, I gotta say, I just saw Frozen for the first time, and I loved it so much. I don't know if I have a favorite. Oh, Beetlejuice. I love Beetlejuice.
Oh, that's fun too. Did you see it with Sierra Renee? Did you see Frozen with the new cast, or?
I saw the final performance with Casey and oh, what's her name? What can I think of her name? The originals. I saw the final performance.
Yeah, Patty Murin.
Yeah, Patty Murin. Yeah.
Lauren Kennedy's asking, Beth Level was her idol as an emerging artist, and she wanted to know who's yours.
Oh my gosh, Beth Level was totally a huge idol of mine too. And I still can't believe I got to work with her, but I love Kristen Chenoweth. She was probably my number one, because I wanted to be a comedic actress like that, and I'll never have a voice like that, but I love Kristen Chenoweth. So yeah.
Very nice. And she came to see the show, right? I saw photographs of her
Yeah.
prom signs. Did you get to meet her?
I didn't, but that's okay. That's okay. Maybe one day.
Next time, yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me tonight. I'm just so excited to talk to you and talk about this show that I love so much. I know Theater Raleigh's on here, Lauren Kennedy. Lauren, please get the rights to the prom. Do the prom one of these seasons. And hopefully we'll see, maybe after you have your baby and you start performing again, we'll see you on the North Carolina theater stage soon.
I would love that. I love that theater. It's so wonderful.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for talking about your NCT connection.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And take care and just enjoy every moment of your pregnancy. Stay healthy.
Thank you. You stay healthy too in this crazy world.
I know. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.